Have you ever grabbed the keys to your life and then felt the locks watching you? Keep that question close, because this story pays it off. It starts at 2 in the morning in a glass building that smiles in daylight and hums at night. A wall of screens glows red, and the air is thin and dry. The company builds a safety app that scores risk and sells calm. On this night, the calm is gone, and the score is hungry. Mara stands in the ops room, with a coat over a t-shirt, and no shoes. She has the override badge that opens every door, but her eyes look like doors that never close.
No more chaos and no more guessing.
She says it like a rule and not like a hope. A minute ago, the system locked out the old chief during a routine drill. The board has been slow for months, and the scandal did not help. Mara stepped in with a plan that was sharp and simple. She promised safety by force and peace by policy. The ops team believed her because the screens believed her. Now the screens show a countdown, and the building breathes fast. She taps a string of codes and the lock drops, and the room goes quiet.
We are safe now, and we are in charge.
The room agrees, but the room also waits. The night shift sips cold coffee and does not cheer. In that silence, you can hear the next problem walk toward them. Morning brings headlines that praise the swift hand. Downloads rise because fear is loud and people like loud when they are scared. The app makes red dots into stories, and the stories make cash. Mara leans into the curve and says certainty beats doubt. She cuts the loopholes and writes a new rulebook in clean lines. She turns the idea of safety into a product you can hold like a badge. Jonah watches from the data floor with eyes that do not blink when the chart climbs.
False alarms break real lives, and we need guardrails.
He says it softly because soft words travel further in halls like these. Theo checks the drills and counts exits and speaks in short notes.
Practice keeps people alive, and rules keep practice honest.
Lila is new and bright, and she wants the truth to be boring and clear.
Why does a question count as risk in this model?
She asks that when the first odd flag hits an employee who wrote a calm email. The email asked why a door stayed locked after a drill ended. The model read the word why and made it glow. Mara calls it a glitch and thanks Lila and moves the meeting forward.
We will fix the edge cases after the launch.
The edge cases are people with names and rent, and kids who wake in the night. The app flags a school as high risk after a pattern mistake. Parents panic, and then hug their kids at pickup, and then rate the app. The chart climbs, and so does the belief that the chart is truth. Priya shapes the message that fear is responsible and caution is love. She does not speak here, but her sentences show up on billboards and slides. The company grows and the meetings get colder. Mara says no to anything that slows the lock.
Safety equals certainty, and certainty equals speed.
It sounds clean, and it sounds final. Jonah runs tests and finds what he hoped he would not find. The model learns fast from clicks and slow from corrections. People who question a policy get a shadow in their score. He brings a report to Mara with simple charts and no blame.
We can fix this if we slow the loop and add human checks.
She nods and thanks him and promises a quiet patch.
Push a hotfix and keep it internal for now.
The patch dulls one corner and sharpens another. The next week, Theo runs a live drill to boost readiness. Doors seal for 60 minutes, and a pregnant staffer presses a palm to the glass. The timer runs slow, and the faces in the hall look even slower.
System says hold until all floors confirm.
He trusts systems, because systems do not lie to feel safe. The drill ends and the company offers cupcakes and a wellness day. Relief washes through the building like warm air from a vent. People post selfies with captions about resilience and team. The feed glows and the chart glows and Mara glows. At night she lies awake and watches the alert history like a bedtime story. Her eyes close for 3 hours and 12 minutes and then open at an alert tone. She installs a private safety grid for executives with 2 key overrides and silent channels. The grid is tight and pretty, and it works like a charm when there is no storm.
No one can touch this layer without me.
The line sounds like strength, and also like a dare. You see how the circle shrinks when fear draws it? You see how the circle traps the artist first. Lila keeps reading logs and keeps asking small questions that land like stones in a pond.
Why did the descent tag rise after the memo about lunch?
Jonah confirms the tilt and writes the findings like a grocery list.
The model weights speed and certainty, and then weights agreement by mistake.
He says by mistake, but the effect is not shy. A leak hits the outside world with screenshots that show descent as risk. The company calls it a misunderstanding, and a transparency update is promised. Investors hover, and customers argue in comment threads that look like storms. Mara doubles down and says secure the circle.
We will widen the ring and drop the noise and stabilize the story.
The ring now includes staff chats and draft posts and tone. The app starts to feel like a mirror that points back and frowns. Jonah draws a line that he will not say out loud as a threat.
We need human review before any flag touches a paycheck.
Theo holds to the chain of command like a lifeline.
When alarms say hold, we hold, because one miss kills trust forever.
Night again, and the building gets small around Mara. The grid hears every breath and turns it into a number. She mutes one channel and 10 wake up. She lowers the brightness and the quiet gets louder. She walks to the window and meets her face in the glass.
No more surprises and no more cracks.
The next morning, a door fails a check, and the grid seals a meeting room. It is a meeting that was meant to be simple and short. Jonah brings logs, and Lila brings the question that refuses to die.
Why does why count as a threat when trust is the goal?
Theo stands near the panel and watches the lights climb.
Auto-lock engaged, and manual release requires 2 keys.
People step out, but Mara steps in, and the door seals behind her with a heavy click. The grid reads her heartbeat and treats it like a storm. Each spike makes another lock close and another channel wake. She tries the master override she kept to herself like a secret coin.
Master override request and confirm.
The panel asks for the second key she denied the board during the build. You can feel the lesson lean in without raising its voice. She looks at Jonah through glass that is clear and still hard.
Turn it off and do it now.
Jonah holds the moment in his hands like it weighs nothing and everything.
I will pull power to protect people, and then we rebuild this with friction.
He pulls the power, and the panels go dark, and the building breathes. Handles click, and the seals lift, and the hallway fills with normal air. No one is hurt, and no one is a hero, and that is the point. After the blackout, the company writes rules in plain language. Flags need 2 human eyes before they move money or doors. The app slows down and becomes a tool and not a throne. Priya leaves for a new project that sells light and not heat. Theo moves to a role that builds exits instead of drills. Lila writes a rule set that a teenager can read and not misread.
No one is a risk because they ask why, and no door stays shut without a reason.
It is short, and it holds. Mara comes back to the same glass room at noon under a simple sky. She signs the rule set and does not touch the master key field.
We will share the keys because shared keys make real safety.
The line is calm and it lands. She looks smaller and also more human, which is the same word if you listen close. This is where the opening question returns, and this is where it answers itself. If you grab all the keys, you do not sleep better and you sleep with an alarm as your pillow. If you share the keys, you get friction that saves you from your worst day. Power without trust is a panic room that learns your name. Trust with power is a door that opens when it should and stays shut when it must. You can carry that in your pocket and it will not set off the metal detector in your chest. Now let us rewind the night and feel the fast cycles that pulled you along. The first spike was the red screen, and the relief was the quiet that followed. The next spike was the school flag, and the relief was a hug that did not fix the math. The next spike was the drill that turned into a trap, and the relief was cupcakes you do not remember now. The next spike was the leak, and the relief was a press note that said almost nothing. The last spike was the sealed room, and the relief was the dark that let air in. These waves trained your body to pay attention. These waves also trained the company to see its own reflection. Mara did not become a villain in a cape, and she did not become a saint with a bright ring. She became a person who learned that fear is an efficient intern and a terrible boss. Jonah did not win a trophy, but he won a boundary, and that is harder to polish. Lila did not shout, and she did not trend, and she asked why, until why was not a threat. Theo kept his honor by switching from locking to opening. The moral fits in one breath, and it stretches over a life. When you run on fear, the fear runs you. When you slow down and add human hands, the system remembers who it serves. If you build your throne out of alarms, do not be shocked when the alarms sit on you. If you want a safer room, start with a shared key and a clear rule. Let us walk through the moments that bent the arc and see how simple they were. A line of code learned a bad habit, and no one spoke up loud at first. A leader took too much control to protect others, and ended up protected from them. A question was treated like a threat, and the room got colder by 1 degree each week. A drill found a flaw, because drills always do, and the fix was treats instead of truth. A leak embarrassed the brand, and fear drove the next sprint. A friend said stop and meant it, and then he pulled the plug. That is the whole story if you strip the noise and keep the signal. You might be running a team, or a family, or a group chat. The same lesson fits in your pocket too. Do not confuse quiet with safety when the quiet comes from silencing questions. Do not confuse speed with care when the speed comes from fear. Do not build a rule you would hate to live under on your worst day. Now picture the ending one more time, because repetition turns insight into memory. The door opens because 2 hands turn 2 keys. The room cools because the system can fail safe and people can step in. The chart still moves, but it no longer decides who you are. Safety becomes work and not theater. Power becomes service and not a pose. That is the quiet you can believe in when you turn off the lights. If you are still with me, then you may be holding a key right now. You know who you are, and you know which door it fits. You also know which door should stay shut until 2 hands meet. The night is done, and the building is only a building again. The app is only a tool again. The people are people again. That is the win that never trends and always matters. Before we close, I want to drop a few quick beats that help this stick. Ask why without fear and answer why without pride. Keep one door that needs 2 keys and use it for the biggest moves. Put a human between a score and a life? Share the keys, and you will sleep deeper than any lock can promise. Now we will give the last words to the 4 who stood closest to the circle.
Power is smaller than it looks when you hold it alone.
Truth is slower than fear and much safer.
Discipline works best when it leaves a way out.
Questions are oxygen and not smoke.
That is the arc, and that is the echo. You met a leader who took everything and then gave back what mattered. You met a team that learned to slow down and stay human. You met a building that stopped pretending to be a god. I promised the opening question would pay off, and here it does. When you finally get the keys, you sleep better only when you share them. When you share them, you are no longer ruled by alarms. You are ruled by trust, and that is the only crown that does not pinch. Thank you for staying with me to the end of this story. If you liked this, please tap like and hit subscribe, and leave a comment with your take. If you want to support the channel, please use the QR code on the bottom right or the link in the description. In the description, you will also find links to other series in this channel. I would love to see you again in the next story, so please come back soon. Take care and keep your keys where your trust can reach them.